It's a huge weekend here in the Valley of the Sun for some, and then for some, they're down catastrophic. We'll get into both sides of that as far as Valley sports go right here on Southwest Bias.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
Of course, brought to you by our friends over at Branded Bills. Check out Branded Bills and save 20% on your first order by using that promo code PHNX for 20% off at Branded Bills. Damon Dog, Bo Brock, drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. And we look at Arizona State football. They're about to kick off in the Big 12 championship against Iowa State. Who's got it better than the Sun Devils right now? Well, if we look back a year ago, mostly everybody did. This was a 3-win program.
It's true.
And the only thing that they could really kind of hang their hat on back then was Coach Kenny Dillingham, right? He was activating the Valley, but it was mostly kind of words, not actions. The standings didn't improve. That first year was a success, but it looks like the culture change has resonated, and Sun Devils trending in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I say this all with, the most sadness that any man could possibly speak on, but ASU looks destined to be successful for the next decade minimum, I would argue. I mean, Kenny Dillingham is the youngest coach in Power 4. He's, I believe, 34, 35 years old. He was the youngest coordinator when he became a coordinator back at Oregon and at Auburn. So he's incredible. I mean, ASU looks to be just headed in just an unbelievable direction. And who wouldn't want to? I keep saying this to the ASU guys. If you're watching Kenny Dillingham, ASU football, and you're seeing these post-game pressers and him talking to the students on the field, and what reason would you not want to play for this guy? With the transfer portal in its current state, the way that it is, personally, if I was a player around the country looking for a spot to play at, I would look at ASU long and hard and say to myself, that's a program that I want to be a part of.
And look, the awards season came through. You've got Sam Levitt, the offensive Big 12 newcomer of the year. Mm-hmm. He's a freshman, so he's got the opportunity to stay here and continue to build with Kenny Dillingham. Jordan Tyson should expected to come back, stronger than ever. Very talented wide receiver. The pieces are in place, and it seems, with the success will come the ability to go out there and win as far as NIL and keep up with the Joneses there. They're winning on and off the field. Like, you got Kenny, who's getting the $200,000 bonus, and he's giving it back and reinfusing it into his coaching staff. It's just, they seem to, like, everywhere you turn, it's coming up Arizona State football. Start to kind of look at other teams in the Valley. Like, the Arizona Cardinals are in a very interesting place right now. I think, like, when you look at Arizona State, where they're at the top of the Valley right now, which is shocking to a lot of people, the Arizona Cardinals are going into a weekend where they kind of control their own destiny as far as this goes. Like, are they going to be trending up, or are they going to be trending down for the 2024 season?
I mean, I think in general with the Cardinals, you have to say that they are headed in the right direction, regardless of what happens on Sunday, regardless if they make the playoffs or not. A lot of people predicted that this team was going to have a top 10 pick, if not a top 5 pick. I mean, they have a quarterback who's still fairly young in terms of quarterback years in the NFL. I mean, quarterbacks can be in their prime for quite a while. You have a young roster in general, and you have a coach and general manager tandem that it seems as though most Cardinals fans have their full belief in those guys. So, I think the Cardinals, while I think it's the end of this season will determine how high everybody is on them, because it's possible that the Cardinals maybe wind up second on this power rankings of teams headed in the right direction. Maybe they end up third or fourth if they don't make playoffs this year. But I do think in general, the Cardinals are on the way up and moving in the right spot.
It is crazy how this weekend could determine, who has the edge as far as the football entities, at least in our general vicinity, between the Sun Devils and the Cardinals. Sun Devils lose to Iowa State on Saturday. They're on the outside looking into the playoff. I mean, still a very admirable season, an electric season for Sun Devil fans. I mean, this was a team that was picked to finish dead last in their brand new conference. Yeah. And then the Cardinals, like, if they win, they get to move forward with a couple easier games on their schedule. The Patriots coming to town next week. You've got a game on the road against the feisty Carolina Panthers team, but very winnable game. And you could put yourself in a very strong position to win the NFC West. If you lose, you're 6-7. Depending on what the loss looks like, I think that the pressure starts to kind of escalate for a guy like Kyler Murray, depending on how he plays. I mean, you mentioned 27 years old, but you see this kind of sweet spot here as far as their schedule. If they come off the bye week at 0-13 and your offense continues to struggle, people are going to point to your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think in terms of pressure when it comes to the organization, I think you kind of have to point at Kyler Murray and say he has the most pressure. I mean, Johnny says it all the time on our PHNX Cardinals show, 4:30 every day, Monday through Friday. No Thursdays. It's I think, you're paying him as a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
So he needs to show up and be a top 10 guy. That's what his contract kind of indicates. And that's, I mean, I think that's just kind of the place that he's got to be in. Jonathan Gannon's in his second year. His first year, kind of a wash. No one's holding that against him. I mean, the team was the least talented team in all of football. Even this year, the defense is, on paper, looks like potentially the least talented defense in all of football. And him and Nick Rallis have been able to make that defense into the strength of this team, most would argue at this point. So, I think the other figureheads in the Cardinals organization there's a little bit less pressure on them. But Kyler Murray, absolutely. He has to kind of prove why he's that franchise guy down the stretch here against teams that are weaker than the Cardinals on paper and also the Seahawks, who you just lost to, and it's a huge game coming up this week.
Let me throw something a little bit before we get too far away from the Sun Devils. Their hoops teams under Bobby Hurley, one loss right now? Not too bad. I think you can add that to the Arizona State, who's trending up, who's trending down.
Sure.
Sun Devils looking good against mostly non-conference opponents.
That's the MO of Bobby Hurley teams, though. I'm not too concerned. I keep telling the Sun Devils guys that. I mean, let's
talk
see
to me in January and February.
Let's see it in conference play. Yeah, 100%. Because Bobby Hurley's hot in non-conference play every year, and every ASU fan is like, is our basketball team good? And then the slog of the conference season, usually in the Pac-12, which is a horrible basketball conference. But now we're in the Big 12, the best of the best basketball conference. So I like to see how they kind of match up in that before I crown them. But they certainly look to have some talented players and are moving in the right direction.
Let's stay on the hardwood here as we continue to go down the scale of teams that are from trending up to trending down. The Phoenix Suns suffer another injury, another time to Kevin Durant, an ankle injury. He rolls his ankle. He's going to be reevaluated next week potentially. But the Suns now 12-9, coming off a brutal loss to the Pelicans, a 5-win basketball team. It's just the uneven performances continue with Phoenix, and it's got I think frustration is reaching a boiling point, even though it's been due to injuries throughout the last two seasons.
Yeah, and I think of it, that's what comes with trading for Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. Those are guys that have had injury issues in their past, and I think the thought process is get them healthy by March, get them healthy by April, and kind of that last stretch leading up to the playoffs and into the playoffs. I mean, that's what you need them for. You just need to get in the dance with those guys. But it's tough when you look at the NBA standings and they're currently the 7 seed. Like, obviously the Rockets are the 2 seed. They wouldn't be scared about playing the Rockets. But say you get the 8 seed and you play the Thunder in the first round, then all of a sudden you're not, even when Kevin Durant is playing, you're probably not making it through to the next round. So, seeding is important, and there's a reason for it. The Suns will have, a shot at winning once it gets to the playoffs, in my opinion. But these injuries are going to continue to hamper their ability to build up that grace period where they can maybe play one of these lower tier playoff teams in the playoffs and make it through to the next rounds. It takes a pretty special performance out of your best players, like the Heat a couple years ago with Jimmy Butler, where he took off the 1 seed, the 3 seed, and the 2 seed on the way to making the finals. I mean, that doesn't happen hardly ever. So the Suns are in a tough spot. They're aging with their 2 stars in particular, Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. I think that they will always be relevant as long as Devin Booker is on their team. But I don't know if relevancy looks like contending for a championship or if relevancy looks like being a 5 through 8 seed, making the play-in game and whatnot.
Suns fans they're tired of being the bridesmaid. They want to be the bride. They want to get to the altar there, and they want to put a ring on it. And I mean, Devin Booker's had an interesting season, but it's obviously the revolving door as far as who his teammates are and who's going to be on the court with them. But even if they were to somehow find some sort of time during this regular season where KD's available, Bradley Beal's consistently available, can you honestly look at the absolute just gauntlet that is the NBA postseason and say, hey, those guys can stay healthy through the 20 plus games that you're going to have to play in order to get there. So it's a really, like, it's just been an interesting couple of years with that franchise that desperately seeks it. Let's wrap this up, and then I want to kind of, what you and I will buy stock in some of these teams. Like, even that, like, if there's a team that's just bottomed out, like, are you going to buy it at the cheapest and think it's going to go there? We'll see. Let's end it, though, talking about your beloved U of A. Talk about last year at this time, this team was gearing up to play Oklahoma in a bowl game and win their 10th game, and they finished at 4 wins this season. U of A, I guess we'll just lump in football and basketball. They're down tremendous.
Yeah, things are bad. Like you said, last year at this time, we were kind of on top of the world. I think that we were gearing up to play Oklahoma. We had the second longest active winning streak in all of college football behind Michigan, who won the national championship. And then you went to, the basketball side of things as well. And they had just beaten Duke at Duke. They looked like a team that was going to, contend for yet another Final Four. Things have changed a lot since then, since that San Antonio Alamo Bowl trip that I had the pleasure of seeing in person. And thank God, my parents and I were talking about that not that long ago. Thank God we went, because we don't know when it'll get back to that point again. But yeah, the football team's in a deep state right now. And the basketball team, I think, things are obviously not in a good spot. Like, you look at some of the losses and the teams that they've been to, Oklahoma, West Virginia, like, those are not on paper supposed to be great basketball teams this year. But I do, to an extent, trust Tommy Lloyd to get this team out of that kind of rut. They have too much talent on their roster to be a bad basketball team, and they've looked bad thus far. So I think that they will figure it out to an extent. They might not be that top 10, top 15 team that we've been accustomed to seeing with Tommy Lloyd, but the basketball program I'm not really too concerned about long term. The football program, it looks like it's going to be a slog here for a little bit. I don't have much confidence in Brent Brennan. We'll see. I think there are a lot of U of A fans that are just out. They're fully out. Yeah. Like, they're not going to support the team. They don't care as long as Brent Brennan is the coach. I'm not on that realm. I want to see them succeed. I want to see them turn it around. But my confidence is absolutely waning in that staff, and if it's not already at rock bottom.
We'll check into our portfolios. We're going to buy and sell some stock as far as your Valley teams here in just a minute here on Southwest Bias. But got to tell you about our friends over at Empire Today. If you are in the market to upgrade your flooring, carpeting, hardwoods, whatever it may be, whatever you're looking for, what type of dwelling you're looking to satisfy that with, Empire Today is the way to shop at home with convenience, right product for your needs, quick professional installation with people that know exactly what they're talking about. You're going to get that price match guarantee. You think you can go find somewhere in the Valley with cheaper materials, you're not going to pay as much? Well, Empire Today is going to be able to match that and also give you the professionalism and, of course, the elite installation that you're going to want. Check it out. Get the easy, quick, convenient ways, and also utilize their virtual floor designer. All you got to do is take out your smartphone, snap a picture of whatever room you're going to get new flooring in, and you can look exactly what it's going to look like there with the brand new carpeting and hardwoods that you can find. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/PHNX for all the details. Also want to thank our friends over at Branded Bills. You got the campus collection. We're talking Arizona State. We're talking U of A. They've even got GCU if you're an Antelope. Check them out right now for their campus collection or just to elevate your brand. Right now, you can cash in, save 20% on your first order. You can get yourself Branded Bills products for 20% off with using that promo code PHNX. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills. Perfect headwear and apparel that you're looking for, whether it's your slow pitch softball league, maybe it's your kids' softball team, whatever it may be, their little league team. Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and with style. Looking for some gear to brand to stand apart from the crowd? Well, you can find it right now. Branded Bills. It's a company out of Mesa, Arizona, but it is worldwide right now, but not with big premium prices. Actually very affordable, and you can save money right now by heading to brandedbills.com and use the code PHNX for 20% off your first order. 20% off brandonbills.com using the code PHNX. If you are looking at the market, and I would buy stock right now in Tommy Lloyd and U of A. Because I think it's down, but you're going to be able to get it, and it's going to go like that. It's going to ascend. So I would take Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats to kind of get back on track and start to kind of chip away the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. I think that I find it very hard to believe that they're going to be. I mean, they lost to a West Virginia team that is considered to be one of the lower teams in the Big 12 conference. I'd find it hard to believe if they find themselves in that neck of the woods when it comes to the Big 12 and the basketball standings at the end of the year. And conversely, I mean, people can call me a hater, but I'm selling on Bobby Hurley and ASU's men's hoops.
All right.
I just I think they were in a dogfight in the first half with San Diego. I mean, a team they lost to last year, but at home, I mean, they probably have the worst home court advantage in the entire conference when it comes to basketball. I don't see them being a team that's really going to be. I think they can make a tournament.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think they can make the tournament, but I don't see them being like a juggernaut team in the Big 12, like towards the top of the standings. I really think that they'll be more in the middle of the pack.
I think they're appropriately priced right now. So
okay.
like I would buy a little bit. I wouldn't buy a lot. Like I would try to take more of the U of A stock that's at a lower price and take that. I mean, as far as what Brett Brennan's doing over as far as football, I'm selling that completely. I mean, and it's already
it's dead.
It's burned me already.
Yeah.
Like I've lost a lot of money. My kids, I've got to figure out what to do with their college fund now. Brennan, I'm completely out of that. The two interesting ones are two teams that are hovering around 500 in their respective leagues. The Cards at 6-6. Like if you get them right now and you're asking to do it a day before their biggest game of the year, this is it.
Yeah.
And I think
this is where it gets volatile.
I'm confident. I'm going to buy the Card stock right now because I think next week at this time you're going to be like, well, you should have bought Card stock while it was lower.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the Cardinals, I find it hard to believe, two losses in 3 weeks to one team is tough. That doesn't, I feel like in the NFL, that doesn't happen all that often.
Mm-hmm.
Typically why you see divisional opponents, even in a game like the Browns and the Steelers the other day, where the Browns season is over and the Steelers are, a contender for the Super Bowl, and the Browns beat the Steelers in that game. It's just tough to beat division opponents, and it's especially tough when the Cardinals are a pretty decent football team on the other side of the field. So I think at home against the Seahawks and kind of a must-win scenario, I think the Cardinals take care of business, and I'm with you. I think that now is a good time to buy your stock on the Arizona Cardinals.
Phoenix Suns.
That's a tough one.
Very tough.
Like I said, I think they'll always be relevant when Devin Booker is on their team. I think that he brings a level of media attention, and I think players want to play with that guy.
Like, what are you buying it with the idea that it's going to get you to? Because is it a championship contender, or is it like this team's going to get knock on the door for a top 5 seed in the West?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the latter, and that's where it's a tough spot to be as in the NBA, in that mediocre range, because you're not picking anywhere high enough to get the elite level talent that might change your organization, but you're also not good enough to break over into the top seeds that are truly contenders. So honestly, realistically, I don't think the Suns really have much of a shot at all of winning the championship this year. Part of that for me, though, goes into the Celtics are just so much better than everybody else. It's almost as if, like, I don't really see anybody, maybe other than the Thunder in the West, actually having a shot at potentially winning the finals.
That's a stock I would buy, but I'd be willing to sell as soon as it gets a little shaky. But I think like long term, I talked about the Cardinals. I think long term, that's a better investment based on a lot of things that you said earlier. And then this ASU one is interesting. Like I think I would hang on to it for a while because
ASU is Apple.
Is Apple right now?
It's Bitcoin.
But can they get back to this level? Like is Dillingham? Is this just the beginning of things for Dillingham? Can he be another 2-loss team and be competing for a Big 12 championship, and in turn be competing for a college football playoff spot year in and year out?
Yeah, it's tough. And I think a lot has obviously gone their way this year. I mean, you look at their schedule, they played a lot of the teams that are, kind of went down the stretch and were good, like a Kansas, maybe towards more the beginning of the season when they weren't playing good football. Maybe like a BYU is similar on the opposite end. They got them when they were kind of reeling a little bit more and not when they were super hot out of the gates. I think things broke ASU's way quite a bit, and they won essentially every close game that they played in all year. That being said, and obviously Cam Scadaboo's leaving. Like I've been joking with Shane and Totri the whole season that they got to cash in on Scadaboo while it lasts because he's their best player, and who knows what could happen. But that's more of a tongue-in-cheek joke that I'm trying to make with them. I think Cam Scadaboo, like he's obviously such a phenomenal player, but running backs are in fact replaceable.
Yeah.
And if you look at this rushing attack at ASU, and you're a running back in a different place in the country that's maybe had a great year at maybe a little bit smaller school, similar to a Scat coming from Sacramento State, you're looking at ASU as a top choice for you, being like lots of playing time available. Great coaching staff. Your quarterback's the same. Your best receivers coming back. Had a good O-line this year. So I think ASU they're set up to sustain very well. Even if they don't compete for the playoff next year, I think as long as Kenny Dillingham is there, they will be a bowl team. And there's ebbs and flows with that. Yeah. There are years where you have 10 wins. There are years where you have 6 wins. But I do think that they'll find consistency with Kenny Dillingham where they're always going to be a relevant team, at least in the Big 12 Conference.
What are you buying? What are you selling? Drop a comment here on this video. Make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Follow Damon Dog on Twitter at Damon Dog. Follow me, Bo Brock, and check out all the great programming we have right here on PHNX Sports.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.